Sunday, June 14th, 1942. On Friday, June 12th, I woke up at 6 o'clock, and no wonder. It was my birthday. But of course, I was not allowed to get up at that hour, so I had to control my curiosity until 6:45. Then I could bear it no longer, and went to the dining room, where I received a warm welcome from Morty, the cat. Soon after 7, I went to Mummy and Daddy, and then to the sitting room to undo my presents. The first to greet me was you, possibly the nicest of all. Then on the table, there were a bunch of roses, a plant, and some peonies. And more arrived during the day. Now I must stop. Bye-bye. We are going to be great pals. Yours, Anne.
Hi, my name is Adele, and I'll be telling you about Anne Frank. Anne Frank was born on June 12, 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany to Otto and Edith Frank. She had an older sister named Margot. They were a devout Jewish family. When she was only 4 years old, the Nazis took control of the government. Just 6 years later, in 1939, World War II started. Adolf Hitler wanted a pure race, so Jews were persecuted. Her family was forced to hide in a secret annex in Holland to prevent being sent to a concentration camp. She recorded her experience in the annex in a diary, which later became one of the most famous accounts of the Holocaust experiences. And now to Jilly.
Thanks, Adele. We're here with Anne Frank for an interview. How are you, Anne?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, thanks for asking. We have some questions for you today. So let's start off. What school did you go to?
Well, I started going to the 6th Montessori school in Amsterdam in 1934. But I was later moved to a Jewish school until I went into hiding.
Tell us about your best friend.
Well, my best friend in the annex was probably Peter. We confided in each other because we were able to relate to one another.
What is your relationship with your mother and sister?
Well, I love them, but our viewpoints are very much different.
What caused your family to go into hiding?
I believe it was on July 5th when Margot received a letter to go to one of the Nazi work camps.
What was your first reaction when you heard about the war and persecution?
I was speechless, and I was terrified of the unjust actions that were taken, and I had no idea what the future held.
When and where did you first start hiding?
We started hiding on July 6th in a building behind my father's workplace.
How many people lived with you in the secret annex?
There were 8 people, all including me, and more came later.
What was the best birthday present you ever received?
My precious diary, who I call Kitty.
What did you do to pass time?
Well, I collect pictures of singers and actors. I listen to the radio. I learned school from my parents. I read. I talked to Peter, and of course, I always wrote in my diary.
How did you get food in the secret annex?
Meep, my dad's coworker, she would bring us food.
What were some struggles you faced in hiding?
There were many obstacles to overcome, such as food, robberies, and not being able to speak.
What concentration camp were you sent to, and what were your thoughts of the concentration camp?
Well, I went to Auschwitz and the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. At first, I didn't think concentration camps were bad at all, but then when my mother's sister and I were sent, I figured out how bad they really were.
Describe your personality in 3 words.
I'd probably say energetic, talkative, and positive.
And for our last question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
I've always wanted to be a writer because I've enjoyed writing my whole life. I've also dreamed of becoming famous one day.
Thanks for spending your time with us today, Anne.
The achievements won by Anne Frank were the Award for Moral Courage, Nobel Peace Prize, and World Children's Prize. Anne Frank died in the concentration camp when she was 15 years old. In the concentration camp, Margot and Anne died with typhus, and Anne's mom, Edith Frank, died of starvation. Otto Frank was the only survivor out of all of the people in the annex, and he helped publish Anne's diary and open the annex to the public. World War II ended in 1918 when Hitler died and the Nazis fell apart. Anne Frank has inspired many young people today. In geography, we learned about World War II, Nazi Germany and the Holocaust, and the mass murder and terrorism that followed. Anne Frank's death is an example of the terrible crimes the Nazis committed during their reign.
In spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery, and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions. And yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will all come right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. Yours, Anne.